What's up guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be talking loadouts, tips, tricks, how to play Yagorath, everything about the new frontline champion in Paladins. Before I do get into this though, it's your first time viewing my channel or finding any of my videos, leave a like, share the video, and subscribe if you are new. You do not want to miss any of my new videos, or when I do go live. I do stream Paladins ranked, I stream Smite, I stream Fortnite, Warframe. I might be streaming Splatoon in the near future as well. A lot of stuff, Rogue Company as well, I might be streaming soon. So if you guys do not want to miss any of that, hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications on so you guys know when I go live. Apart from that, Yagorath, the newest tank and frontline champion for Paladins. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, I think Yagorath is probably one of the coolest concepts they've created for the game. At least as a tank character. She's really similar to Rom, but at the same time, she puts an entirely different take on what it means to really be a tank. She might be one of the most diverse tanks in the game as well, where she can actually just play anything. She can either play off tank or she can play point tank, and there's really no set role for her like a lot of the other tanks. For instance, like an Inara or a Barrack, you're mainly going to be seeing them as a point tank. With Yagorath, you can pretty much play as an off tank or a point tank. You can pretty much do either one. Or if you want to play like a flank Yagorath, she even has loadout cards, and she has pretty much the entire kit where she can actually do that as well. She's really good at bullying back lines, playing like an off tank, stuff like that. Now going into this, I'm assuming you already know what you're doing and you know our entire base kit. The only thing I'm going to really be talking about in this video is her talents, because I think that's the most crucial thing if you're going to be playing her. Knowing which talent to pick is going to be probably the best option. She has 3 talents. They all get locked on, I think, mastery levels, up to mastery level 8 or 12, whatever it is now. First one being unlocked on default is Corrosive Acid. Augments your acid, increasing the damage done by a caustic spray up to 48. The damage of acid pools to 40, and increase your movement speed of allies within your acid pools by 20%. So this is going to be more of like a support type talent. I wouldn't really say this is going to be your main talent that you're going to be using. It's more of like one of those talents. If you have 2 tanks on your team and you want to have pretty much extra movement speed, you plan on playing around the point. I would say if your team's more based on playing the point than actually playing for kills or like for team fights, you're going to be building a team that's strictly based around capping objectives and pushing the payload all the way to the end. So I'd say that's probably the best talent you're going to choose for as well. Sight, Baguette, Strength. Allies within your range of your primal vision gain a stackable 125 health shield and 15% increased movement speed for 4 seconds each time you pulse. So she also has a reveal in her kit, which is really cool. This is going to be more of like an off tank. I actually see this being probably one of her better talents. If anything, this is probably her second best talent you're going to be seeing a majority of the time, apart from her last talent, Unnatural Persistence. But this is going to be more of like an off tank. You pretty much stack maybe like a damage, you have a flank, and you just run around the map with one of your damage, your DPS, or one of your flanks. Every time you search for somebody else, they're going to be getting a 125 health shield, which I think this procs 4 times. It pulses 4 or 5 times. So 125 times what, 4 or 5. You have like what, 500 health shield, 600 health shield if you're in the radius. So I think this actually will be seeing a lot of play, especially as like an off tank where you have like a flank or a DPS follow the Yagorath around the map, and just stacking that shield and just going for kills based off the shield and the reveals. Can be a really good talent depending on if you build around it. As like just for Yagorath by herself without anything, I wouldn't say it's really that good, but if you plan on playing with it and playing with the strength of the reveal and the shields, it can be really good. Unnatural Persistence, probably the most straightforward and probably the most used talent that you're going to be using the majority of the time if you're playing Yagorath. Heal for 25 every 0.25 seconds while on an objective for 1 second after leaving the objective. This effect increases the longer you maintain it, up to 65 health every 0.25 seconds. So Yagorath has, out of all the tanks in the game, I think has the second highest health pool out of all the tanks. Up there right with Rom, I think they're both around about the same health. Pretty much what this is, you stand on the point, you're going to be playing point tank the entire game. This is the talent that you want if you're going to be playing the point if you're a solo tank, or if you just want to play on the point and you want to play play a point if you and help your other main tank with the objectives. You sit on the point. After 1 second, you're going to be getting a stacking heal. So as long as you're on that point, you're going to be getting a slight heal from this talent. So it's kind of just really straightforward. And if you leave the point 1 second after you're leaving, you still will get that heal. It'll proc until I think like a little bit after you leaving. So talents are out of the way. I'm going to be getting into some of the loadouts. These 3 first base loadouts that they do give you when you first unlock her, I wouldn't say they're really bad. They're just way better options. You're better off just making any other loadout yourself, and I think you'll do better. These 3 base loadouts are garbage. Do not use them. They just don't really do anything. You're better off just making a loadout yourself, even if it isn't that good at first, and you're just first starting to play her, and you can just tune the loadout and fix it based on how you play. I think that's the way you kind of go for this champion. But I have 3 loadouts here that I will be talking about. This first loadout is probably going to be the most straightforward loadout. You're going to be picking this, I think, with any talent, pretty much in the majority of your games. Extermination is actually really good. By default, getting 25% crowd control reduction in a loadout card, which I think is absolutely broken, by the way. But absolutely insane that you're able to even get 25% CC reduction in a loadout card. I do think this card will end up being nerfed. Keep in mind, Yagorath isn't affected by a lot of forms of crowd control. Stuff like Commander's Grab, Con Grab, Saris Alt, IO Alt. I don't think she gets pulled back by that either. There's a lot of ultimates in the game that are usually crowd control, and you don't get affected by those. Instead, you'll take a stun instead, and having that 25% extra CD crowd control reduction in your loadout makes those stuns pretty much non-existent. So like 99% of the crowd control in the game you're not going to be affected by with this loadout card. That's why I think this is probably the most solid loadout that I've created and that you guys can probably use, at least with this card. If anything, just use this card. It's probably the best card she has. Increase your maximum acid capacity, probably one of her most solid cards as well. You just want that acid, otherwise if you don't really run it, you're kind of low on acid the majority of the time. These last 3 cards are more filler. I think Deadly's Pursuit is also one of her better cards. Having that extra 20% movement speed after activating your movement and your speed boost on your higher form. Probably the better card. You get that 20% movement speed. Increase the duration of vulnerability. So these last 2 are kind of just filler cards. You can kind of put whatever you want there. But for the first loadout card, pretty much loadout and loadout set, this is going to be what you want to run. I think it's the most solid. The second one's going to be mainly for the Corrosive Acid talent. You're going to be running Acid for most of this one. Triumphant Return, getting that extra 90% acid, reducing the acid when you switch back to your planet form, really helpful, especially if you're facing a bunch of people on points, or if you're just diving like a couple people and then trying to get out really fast. Same card as the last loadout, Deadly Predator, 40% extra capacity on your acid. These last couple cards are kind of filler. The Deadly Pursuit, I think, is kind of more of a stable card. You don't have to run out of 5, but I think it needs to be a 2 or 3 in the majority of your loadouts. It's kind of good of a card. These 2 right here, Futile Efforts and Extermination, kind of filler cards. Extermination's is so good, you kind of throw it on your loadouts as a filler card anyways. And then Futile Efforts reduce the cooldown of Piercing Quill by 0.1 second every time you hit an enemy with Caustic Spray. So you're going to constantly have your acid out and you're going to be spraying people with acid. This card is going to be proccing a lot, so even with a 0.1 second cooldown, you're going to be hitting a lot of people with acid anyways, so it's going to be really proccing a lot and you're going to be getting a lot of CDR on your quills. As for the last loadout, this one here is mainly going to be for, I don't know, you can kind of use this more as like a quill-based loadout. I'm not sure what talent you would really run with this, it's kind of up to you. Maybe the Corrosive Acid one or the Point Tank one, Enhanced Resistance, whatever it is. Last efforts, increase the duration of the vulnerability applied by hitting an affected enemy with piercing quills. So if you guys do not know, if you hit somebody when they're standing in acid, with caustic spray and then you hit them with the piercing quills, that person that you hit with the quill will take I think a 10% damage debuff, meaning anybody that hits them will it'll do 10% more damage to that player. So say I have like a Mave or like an Andril, and they're standing in my spray, I hit them with the acid, and then I hit them with a quill, and I land the quill. Now they're taking 10% more damage from all sources, and they're going to be taking more damage from the rest of my team. That's pretty much what it does. It makes that last longer. I think that's kind of a huge card, at least for this loadout. The rest of these are kind of filler cards. Ancient Wounds generates 6% of your maximum acid after hitting people with quills. Reduce the cooldown of quills when you're hitting somebody with your acid. And then Deadly Pursuit filler card, and then Dreadful Compact, more of a filler card as well. Reduce the cooldown of Hardening. You're going to be hitting people with quills anyway, so you might as well get that CDR on your Harden in case things kind of go sour. You kind of get jumped on points. You can have that damage reduction and get the hell out of there. That's all the loadouts I do have. Another thing I want to talk about is some great teammates. I think Furia and Ceres are great teammates, at least healer-wise for Yagorath. Ceres being able to heal across the map, provide insane amounts of heals. Solar Blessing Furia, if you're going to be standing in one place and playing on the point. Solar Blessing Furia pretty much heals Yagorath from like 0 all the way up to full in a matter of like 2 seconds. So even with Cauterize 3, it's extremely hard to shut down. And it's almost impossible for the Furia to miss her beams if you're just staying in place the majority of the game. As for checks and counters to Yagorath, stuff to look out for. If you're going to be playing her, look out for things like Sky. I know you do have a reveal in your kits, but if it's to debilitate, even like the poison bolts in general, if they land on you, it does percentile damage. You have a lot of HP, so you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Things to look out for: Sky, Tyra. Burn Monster Tyra does about 75 to 80% of your health if you just in the Burn Monster. It also cripples you, so you're not able to use your movement when you're in the I think you can still go into your movement form. You just can't use the speed boost. So keep a lookout for Tyra. Probably the best check in the game for Yagorath right now is Tyra. As for other stuff, Big Game Cassie, also a huge check for Yagorath as well. Big Game, you hit him with the knockback. You're taking about 15 to 1600 health per crossbow bolt, so you're taking an insane amount of damage. You don't want to be on the other side of that. Not really the most popular thing on a console, but if you're going to be playing Yagorath on PC, you're going to be seeing a lot of Cassie. Another one, Drogos, a Fusillade or Wormjet's Drogos. They're going to shoot you with the salvo. It's going to land on you. You're going to be taking about 1100, even without Fusillade. You're going to be taking about 1100 health per rocket from Drogos if they're running Wormjets. And if they're running Fusillade, you're going to be taking about 1300 damage if you're affected by the salvo damage boost if they throw the spit onto you. Which is really easy to land because you're going to be stationary a lot of the game. Plus the executes in this game. There's a lot of executes. I'm not sure if Vora is affected with Yagorath because it's CC technically, but I do know Zin I think might affect her. So look out for Zin as well. But mainly Drogos is going to be the thing you're going to want to look out for because the only thing you really do to him is the quills, and those only do 170 damage. It's going to be hard to lock down. You have to have somebody on your team to take him down. So, stuff to look out for. Mainly Sky, Tyra, Drogos, and Cassie. Tanks, not really much to look out for, being completely honest. You can kind of get away from the majority of them. And if they do have crowd control, then you're either not affected by it or you just take a slight stun, depending on your loadout cards, and if you're running crowd control reduction or resilience, if you want to buy that. Healers, not really going to be, I guess some of them you can, there's not really going to be many that you're really afraid of, I'm being completely honest. I think the only one you really need to be afraid of is maybe Furia, because the stun from her beam can put you out of position and actually get you killed, especially if an entire team does kind of jump you. Apart from that, I wouldn't really say you lose a 1v1 to a lot of healers. It's just mainly if you get stunned or if you get placed out of position and the entire team dives you when you're trying to go after a healer. That's kind of the problem. I wouldn't say there's really any that you really need to be worthy or avoiding. So, apart from that, as for items, You're going to be wanting to pick up your Chronos because you have a lot of cooldowns. You're going to be wanting to spam those as much as possible. Rejuvenate. Veteran actually might not be bad. I think Veteran in the game is, with Yagorath, is like the only frontline and only champion in the game that may actually benefit from Veteran, because you get so much health back with a tier 3 Veteran out of combat, and you're just able to go right back in and just cause a ruckus. So, especially if you don't have the best of healers, your healers are kind of struggling. Buying Veteran and just going out of combat for like 5 or 6 seconds and then returning with full health bar again could actually be good. I would not recommend it in 99% of your games unless you want to get reported for trolling, but in your casual games it may be a good option if you just don't have the best of healers or you don't have a healer at all. But you're going to want to pick up the Rejuvenate. Chronos, Rejuvenate, maybe Veteran if you're playing casual games. Cauterize, kind of a no-brainer. I wouldn't really say Record because your damage is so lacking that you're not going to be really doing much shields anyways. Haven, Resilience can also be really good if you want to stack a morale boost. Her ult does charge kind of slow, and it does get checked by a lot of stuff, but you kind of have to play around her ult as well. Having an instant execute though, and an execute in general right now is really good, especially when you can lock down pretty much anything, and you single them out and get an instant kill per fight. Really solid. Other items, even if they have a Skye, you have a reveal in your kit. I wouldn't really even say you need Illuminate unless you want to grab it if they're like on the point the entire time, and you just want to grab it so you can see them on the point. Maybe Illuminate for something like a Skye or a Shaolin or a Strix or whatever. Nimble really doesn't affect her because it does not affect her when she's rolling around. She's not affected by Nimble, so unfortunately. And if she's going to be placed, she's not moving at all. So I think Nimble, I don't even think you're able to even buy that on her. Mainly going to be Chronos, mainly going to be Cauterize, Rejuvenate, and then maybe like something else, like a Haven, like a Resilience, maybe Blast Shield if you're going against some blasters, Dredge, Drogos. I would put Dredge as like a counter to Yagorath as well, but he's kind of easy to go after and easy to dive to the point where he's not really that much of a problem. If you really have problems with Dredge, you just run after him and you just go dive him and kill him anyways. He can't do anything really up close. The only thing he really does is just spam from far away, unlike Drogos where you can't really chase him down at all. So Willow, I guess Willow, if you're running like a Solar Blessing Fury as well, I guess Willow could be a bit of a problem. She's so underplayed currently though, from what I've seen, that you really don't even need to really worry about Willow. I think it's kind of one of those picks that if they know you're going to be picking like a Solar Blessing Fury or like a certain healer and a Yagorath, they may pick a Willow. But in general, I would not even worry about Willow currently. She's just such in a bad spot. I don't think she's even worth picking in most of your games. Unless you're in like a random casuals match or something like that. Even in ranked, it's going to be more of like a situational pick, depending on your team comp and if they're trying to counter team you. So apart from that, I went through all the items. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys got a better loadout? Do you guys got some tips, tricks, anything you guys want to say that I did not mention in this video? Hopefully this helped you out at least somewhat, gave you some loadouts, gave you some insight, gave you something from this video. Hopefully you learned at least something. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, share the video, leave a comment down below if I forgot to mention anything or if there's something I did not cover in this video. Let me know. I'll see you guys in a future one. Thanks for watching.